Meet Debby. Debby is married to Tom. They have a 5-year-old daughter, 2 dogs, and a cat. Debby always felt that she had a good grip on their finances, but slowly things started slipping. It started with a sliding door that needed to be replaced. They had to use their home equity line of credit to pay for this. Then Tammy's tonsils had to be removed, that racked up hospital bills. And their car broke down and had to have the transmission replaced. All of a sudden, she felt like the world had turned against them. Debby knew that they at one point in time managed on only her income when Tom was retrenched from his job. Although it was difficult, they got by. They had a budget and stuck to it. Their situation improved a lot when Tom managed to find a job again. He got a promotion with a pay raise. Things went well for them, and slowly she began to abandon the budget. Besides, they had money left over each month. As time went on, they slowly started to live beyond their means without even realizing it. Month after month of overspending caught up with them. Debby realized that their finances were in bad shape. Debby decided to take a long, hard look at their finances. Just the thought of doing that made her feel sick. But she knew it had to be done. She made a list of every debt they had. She listed the outstanding balance and the monthly repayment amount. After adding everything up and looking at the totals, she felt like she couldn't breathe. She went cold and sat frozen in disbelief. How did this happen? How did they get into $20,000 of debt without realizing it? This total did not even include their mortgage. Worst of all is that they hardly had any money in an emergency fund. This was a painful experience. She still had to tell Tom. She felt ashamed to have let things slip and become this bad. Debby and Tom sat down and set out a plan of action. Firstly, they drew up a budget with the bare necessities. They knew that they would have to make some sacrifices. The first priority for them was to not spend any more money on their credit cards. They had 2 at this stage. Every purchase they made had to come from their bank account. Their financial goals were: pay off their credit cards, build up an emergency fund of $1,000, pay off the car, and have at least 1 month living expenses ahead in the bank. They also wanted to pay off their mortgage in 5 to 7 years. Through a well-designed budget, they were able to get off the credit card float and pay their expenses from their bank account. They had to cut off all their little luxuries to make their budget work. This meant that they had to stop dining out and stop their daily coffee and muffin from the coffee shop, and instead having breakfast at home and packing lunch. Debby started to see how these small and seemingly insignificant amounts were starting to add up. This kept her motivated for a while. At the end of the 3rd month of doing this, Debby received a bonus and she found herself in a mental battle. One part of her wanted to use this money to update the family room, while the other part of her wanted to pay this towards their goals. Debby sat down and looked at their balances and how much progress they had made, so she made her decision. She is going to split her bonus in 3. 1/3 will be paid towards 1 credit card. 1/3 will be used towards their emergency fund. The remaining 1/3 will be put towards their next month's living expenses. Debby kept going and were motivated more than ever. By the end of the 5th month, she had paid off one of the credit cards. Unfortunately, Debby had to have an emergency appendectomy, and they had to use their credit card for the co-payment. Debby felt that they were never going to get ahead. Tom reminded her of the progress they made and that if it weren't for that, they wouldn't have had the funds available on their credit card to pay for this unexpected expense. She knew Tom was right. Debby and Tom focused all their efforts in paying off this debt as quickly as possible, and soon they were on the right track again. The balances kept going down and this kept them motivated. Debby used the allocation from the paid-up credit card and split that amount in 3 again. 1/3 of the money was paid on the 2nd credit card, and 1/3 of the money went towards the emergency fund. And the remaining 1/3 went into the future living expenses. They kept this up until the $1,000 emergency fund goal was reached, and they were 1 month ahead in living expenses in the bank. They then poured all the extra money into the remaining credit card. Debby, at this point, started to feel good about their finances for the first time in a while. She used any extra money from bonuses and tax returns and eventually paid off the remaining credit card. Not long after paying off the credit card, she managed to pay off the car. Debby then saved up enough to buy a small car for cash. It was getting close to Christmas and the holidays, so Debby and Tom decided to use the extra money to pay for the holidays, also as a reward for reaching their goals. One rule they now live by is not to spend money they haven't already earned. It took them 1.5 years to reach this point. In the next video we will look at how they paid off their mortgage and how they started building their wealth. Thank you for watching, and please like this video and subscribe to my channel.